Techsauce, sparking innovative thoughts. Hello, welcome to the Techsauce Global Podcast. And you're with me again, Chawarat Yongjiran Pupe, one of the global content editors at Techsauce Media. And with me today is someone that I'm really excited to talk to because she's not only a brilliant person in her field, but also she has great passion in developing the ecosystem here in Southeast Asia. Her name is Stephanie C. She's the founder of Thinking Machines, which deals with data consultancy and building AI data platforms across Southeast Asia. And her background is immense in terms of how she has had experience working in the Silicon Valley and also now in Southeast Asia. Hello, Stephanie.
Hi, Chawarat. How are you? It's so nice to be on this podcast.
Yes. Oh, you can call me Pupe.
Pupe.
For all the listeners who are listening in, you can also know me as Pupe as well. That's my nickname. As you all know, like in Thailand, we have very long names, and that's why we have nicknames.
Can I call you P Pupe too?
Oh, P Pupe. P Pupe, are you younger than me? Oh, you might be younger than me. Oh no. For those foreigners who don't understand the concept of P is like senior. No, let's just be friends. Let's just be friends. Okay, so I just want to give you an opportunity to give us a little bit about, background about yourself, for those who may not be familiar with you, just give us, the highlights of your career.
Yeah, absolutely. To listeners, I'm Stephanie. I'm from the Philippines, actually, and have had a really fun career in data science. In a lot of ways, I started my career in San Francisco just when data science started becoming like a hot career and like a hot industry. I was in a stochastic modeling class. Like I took statistics in college with friends when all of a sudden these tech companies started talking about, data science is the new career of the future. And we looked at each other. We're like, are you studying data science? Am I studying data science? What is this? It's been a really fun ride from there. I started a startup in college, raised money, lost it all, really hard, really
that's the way you do it,
lesson. Right? Yeah. Oh, it hurt at the time though. It was a really strong life lesson. And then I was really lucky enough to join a startup as an early employee. After that, I built a lot of this company's data systems and customer analytics systems. And then when we got acquired by Google, I worked at Google for a year, learning how to do it, but at an even bigger, petabyte scale at Google.
So then after?
Oh yeah. And then after I moved back to the Philippines, that was about 6 years ago, and I started Thinking Machines. My philosophy there is that I was seeing so much of this like really fantastic data technology happening in Silicon Valley, but you did not need that much. You don't need. It's not capital intensive. You don't need a lot of land. You don't need like specialized manufacturing equipment. You really just need computers and smart people and a connection to, the worldwide cloud web, and you can build amazing technology. So I thought, hey, I think we can do this in Southeast Asia. I think this could be like a wonderful industry for me to be part of and help grow in my home region. I've been doing this for the last 6 years.
I don't want to hurt people's ears, but I want to give you a clap here. I mean, it's a difficult decision to move, from a place where, everyone's always talked about, the Silicon Valley and being there. It kind of gives people the sense of, oh, I've made it if you're working there. Was it hard deciding to come back home?
Not so hard, right? Because if you think about it, in a very few number of years, I managed to go through the entire life cycle of I had started a startup, I had raised money, I had lost it all and shut down that startup. I joined a company as an early employee. It's like employee number 12, and we grew to the point where Google acquired us for a couple $100 million, and then I worked at Google for a year. So that's like 10 or 15 years worth of life experience compressed into 5 years. I think that's one of my favorite things about that Silicon Valley. Like things happen fast, and you really grow and experience really quickly. But at that point, I really knew that I wanted to start my own company, and the choice was whether to start it in Silicon Valley or to see if I could take those lessons and bring them somewhere else. And I've just always been very optimistic about the Philippines, about Southeast Asia. We just opened a Thai office 6 months ago, so I'm actually right now very excitedly meeting people in Bangkok and getting to know the tech community here. And just so there's so much good energy here. I think that sometimes people overblow San Francisco and how smart people must be and how cool people must be, but they're just really people.
Yeah, right. They're just really people. I know, but yeah. Anyways, the story about coming back and giving back and actually growing our ecosystem here is brilliant. What were some of the biggest lessons learned from your time working with startups and at Google?
Yeah. So at Google, my biggest learning there is that a lot of the people at the top, a lot of the most respected, most senior people at Google are pretty much self-taught because you're operating at the leading edge of the industry. And when you're there at the edge, nobody is telling you what to do. You're discovering what you're trying to do. And so there's a whole methodology and framework around discovery and improvement, self-improvement and organizational improvement. And that's something I really bought into. Think about it this way, right? You could get a undergraduate degree in mathematics. You could get a master's in business. You could get a PhD. But at some point, when you're trying to build something new, nobody has done it. By definition, you have to just have the guts and have the drive to keep going. And so meeting a lot of these people who have guts, have drive, have intelligence, helped inspire me to realize that, hey, I don't need to learn from them forever. I could take the lessons that they've given me and like run off on my own and just be part of this community. So that's like one huge, I guess, soft skills one. I think on the hard skills side, the biggest thing I learned at these startups and at Google is that data technology has become super complex in the last 10 years, much more powerful, and also a lot more confusing. If you're somebody new trying to start a career in data science these days, it's so confusing. Do you start learning machine learning modeling? Do you start learning statistics? Do you start learning cloud data infrastructure? Oh my goodness, like what are you supposed to do? But at the end of the day, data has to drive action. So in 80% of the time, a simple actionable SQL query will help you a lot more than a complex model, like a super complex 10,000 line, like a genius level model. But if it is not answering an actionable question, then it doesn't do anything for your business or for the community you're trying to help. So those two things, it's so important for people to keep in mind the balance between complexity, simplicity, and the drive towards action.
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of answered that question for a while now that, you don't need to go to school. I mean, if you do go to school, it's a good thing, but school is not the answer for everything. There's no like path that you follow ABC, especially at this time when you're talking about data and how it's being used and how it's changing. So, when you think about it, you yourself say that, it's very complicated, even if you're a professional person in that industry. What is it then for the organizations? How is it going to be then for the organizations that you're consulting with when they want to transform through the use of data? From your experience in consulting with companies, what have been some of the challenges?
Yeah, so we have been consulting with very big organizations in Southeast Asia. So a telecom, like big telecoms in the Philippines and Malaysia, power companies, governments, a lot of government work in the Philippines. And so these very big organizations tend to be very old also and have a lot of established ways of working. And so for them, the big challenge that I've seen is the cultural blocker in using data to drive strategy, because they're used to planning 1 year ahead, 3 years ahead, and 5 years ahead, right?
Yeah.
You set your budget and you set your plan for 3 years ahead, and then it's all executing on that. And that drives their whole business. And they treat reporting as a post-fact reporting, right? So what they do is they use data to run quarterly reports, and they use those quarterly reports. If you have your January, February, March performance in late April, you look at your Q1 performance after it has all happened, and you think, okay, like that's historical. The big cultural difference between these kinds of companies and the tech companies that I started my career in is that for the tech companies, data is a right now. You look at the data right now to change the way you make decisions tomorrow that impacts your indicators next week. So it's a very different mindset. Data not as a post-fact reporting mechanism, but as like an immediate actionable tool. So that big mental shift is very hard for companies to make.
Yeah.
And the second big blocker is that a lot of big organizations want to open innovation teams. They want to invest in like a very sexy sounding AI product.
Yeah,
PR
definitely.
press release about that. Yeah, they want to say, we're using AI now and it's going to make our business 5 times more valuable. And they spend a lot of money on like a really beautiful new office and hire 10 PhDs.
PhDs?
Yeah.
Okay.
But when they do that, sometimes they forget to give that innovation team an actual goal. They'll just say, use AI, right? But use AI is not a goal. Use AI is almost the same thing as use Excel. Yeah, use Excel to do what? Like, what do you want to do? So thinking about what you want to improve on and how better data can improve your decision-making, can improve your maybe operational work, can improve how you segment your customers and understand them better. Just thinking about the goal and then coming backwards from the goal into the applications. That is a huge challenge that companies have to face. And neither of these things are technical, right? Like these things are not. So mindset. I think that it's all mindset and it's all absolutely changeable. And only once you fix these mindset issues do you get into the third area, which is like, oh, great. Like, how do you build a team? How do you build a data team? And that's really hard because there's so much competition for talent these days.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of competition for talent too. Talent cannot work independently. You can't hire one person to do everything because data science, it's not a job. It's actually a whole industry. And underneath this industry called data science, you have data engineers. You have people who can do machine learning models. You have machine learning engineers for deployment. You have data visualization people. You have strategists. So you have to think of it as like a full team effort when you're trying to change the way you use data as an organization.
I really like how you're explaining this. I think people listening can really get a picture of hands-on, like the practicalities of implementing this change, right? But like it's hard. Change is so hard. Change is hard. But you know what? I just wanted to summarize a little bit what you said. And I kind of want to emphasize that again. From the very beginning of our talk, you said, yeah, definitely data, the industry of analyzing data, using data, it's so diverse. It's so ever changing right now that you don't have a layout plan. But if you want to frame it in a way that will be beneficial to you, I think the best way is to have a goal or a problem that you want to solve. And that can kind of be that structure for you to follow. And that will help you in, losing less money in experimenting and time as well. But, when you talk about changing, within a startup, that's a smaller team. But when you talk about corporates, like big organizations, they already have their own data culture that they have. They already have employees that are used to doing certain things in a certain way that they do all the time. How do you get people within the organizations to create that, I can't say perfect, but a good culture to support this change, and how can we get team members or employees to see the significance of data?
Totally. Every organization I've met, I noticed that even the people who are the most resistant acknowledge that data is important. They want to use data in their jobs. Where a lot of the resistance lies is in thinking about their part in it and their role. So that's why I'm not always in favor of creating totally separate innovation teams. I think it makes sense to do that only if you're also giving your existing team the training and space to continue to learn and grow, and introducing them to concepts like growth mindset versus fixed mindset, right? The idea that every person, and this is an idea I really strongly believe in, every single person, no matter how old you are, no matter who you are, where you are, you can continue to improve and become like a better version of yourself, and you can continue to grow. It's not that you're fixed. It's the opposite of fixed mindset, right? Where fixed mindset, you treat every criticism like it's the end, like your job's over, you're going to be replaced by AI. But growth mindset is about re-envisioning yourself, what you can do. And I think helping people first feel comfortable with the idea that they're going to be uncomfortable, but at the end of it, they're going to be better versions of themselves, and that they're going to use data and AI to help them become more creative, more innovative. And that's true for everybody. Sometimes there's this idea that, oh, only like those special people in that special team will see career growth. But me, I've been a SAP analyst for 20 years, and this is it. I'm stuck. So I'm going to be very resistant to change.
Yeah, I think that that's brilliant, because I've talked to different organizations, and I've heard from both sides, people who have their own individual team outside, and then those who are trying to integrate all parts of the organization within together. And that's a really good point, in that you do need to take that time. You know, it's going to be hard, it's going to be tough, but you do need to take that time to talk to every team to try and see how they can, really, it's not intangible, but something that they really can use in their everyday work. And that seems more useful than separating the entities. And it's a bit something of a concept that's far from what they're doing in their everyday work. But when you talk about the differences in change, corporates, as I said, it will take some time. But on the other hand, smaller companies, startups, they have the advantage of working really fast in terms of changing their mindsets, changing the way they work. But their downfall is, of course, sometimes they don't have enough money.
Yeah,
right. You need money, right? And as you said, talent is expensive and hard to find these days. So what's your advice?
It's in one way, it's the same as with the corporates, right? In both cases, this has to be like this culture change has to start at the top. So company heads have to start using data and referencing data when they're making decisions. I know that I've fallen into this trap myself. Like, I'm the boss of my own small company, right? Where I think like, oh, this is my opinion, and let's just turn it into policy. And I had to be like, wait, I run a data company. I need to see if we have some numbers to back up like what I'm saying here and accept if I'm wrong. And you don't have to be writing SQL queries to do this. I have met executives that will ask a junior to screenshot and email them the business KPI dashboard every day. And it's like, sure, whatever works. You're 70 years old. You're not going to open this dashboard. Like, just look at the numbers every day and make decisions based on it. And I'm happy. But for smaller companies, the great thing about 2022 is that you can actually buy a lot of great AI capabilities instead of building. You can try low-cost investments, running a contained pilot by using AWS's computer vision API endpoint to process your receipts and automate reading your receipts and processing them for you. There's a lot of startups out there who've actually just gotten funding, raised a lot of funding, and so they will sell you their software for really darn cheap. It's subsidized by venture capitalists practically. And so that's a low cost way you can kind of buy these capabilities rather than trying to spend 3 months and 10 people trying to build it on your own. I also think that it's a no-brainer to use small data wisely. Again, it's all about actionability, right? You don't want to build some massive AI tool that only improves your business by like 0.5%. You want to think about what's the smallest thing that you can do in a really agile way. And that's what small businesses are good at. They can operate on 2-week and 4-week cycles instead of having to operate on 1-year cycles. And they can pivot if things aren't going quite right. So if you improve your own reporting capabilities with software, I think that's what software is so good at, like making humans better. You can use a lot of these dashboarding tools that are open source and free that I highly recommend. Metabase like really comes to mind. Or you can use data ingestion and ETL tools that are open source. Like I think the open source community for data tools is really exploding these days. And for those of you who don't know what open source is, basically open source means free for you to use.
You share.
So, yeah, everybody will share it and will open it for you. So a lot of productive things SMEs can do.
Yeah, I think, I don't know why I was being so pessimistic. I was like, yeah, how can you do things if you don't have money? But that's the whole point, isn't it? That's why we have such successful stories about, startups such as yours, growing fast. What about a case study? Let's say, maybe just to give more of a picture to those who are listening. Can you give us a bit of a case study of a project that you thought was a good example of how they overcame challenges and were able to successfully use data to solve problems?
Yeah, I think a really fun recent piece of work we did was for the big courier company in the Philippines. So they have about 1,000 branches all across the Philippines. And every day, hundreds of thousands of people will come to these branches and have a package delivered from point A to point B. And this company did not have a unique customer ID. So if you walked into one branch and sent off a package, and then you walked into another branch and sent off a package, they have no idea that you're the same person. So if they don't know who you are, how on earth are they going to serve you as a customer better? So they had a pretty, when we got there, they had a existing but really messy data system that we're trying to match the customers and trying to figure out who their customers were. And we came in and we helped them develop with some AI technology a single customer view that identifies unique customers across all of their stores. And now, once you have that, first you build the AI model to identify who the unique customers are. Then you're able to analyze the customers' journeys and figure out who is selling on Shopee and Lazada from their house. So you can offer them like special small business deals versus who only does this once in a while. So, okay, you might need more help and more instructions to help make your package sending experience easier. Who sends packages to like family members halfway across the country every month? Okay, we can give you something like a family package plan to make it repeatable. So this next step of understanding customer behavior, customer churn, keeping people happy and keeping them retained with a business, we're able to do that step by step, starting from the single customer view data warehouse, then more machine learning modeling onwards.
It's exciting. That's exciting how you're seeing so much change so fast, and then you're being part of it. And let's take a look at the bigger picture of data. I think it's an interesting thing or concept where you say that it's ever changing. Even if you're going to be in this industry, you are a professional in this industry, you're still going to have to learn new things. You're still going to have to evolve. So what do you think? How do you think data will evolve in the future in terms of how it's going to fit in our lives? I mean, what we're seeing now, we're already seeing a lot being changed, but how is it going to evolve in the future, do you think?
I think humans are actually going to evolve. The cool thing about this field is, I think to succeed in this field, you really have to embrace the mentality of a forever learner. Everything that I learned at school 10 years, 15 years ago, I barely use any of those tools today. Maybe the only thing I use is SQL. SQL is forever. Maybe that's the one caveat. The fundamental techniques in the fundamental mathematics and statistics have been very helpful to me as my career has grown. But every year I have to change the tools that I use at my job. What I'm starting to see now is this very, very cool process where humans are changing their behavior in response to the availability of AI. Super specific example. 3 or 4 years ago, Google wrote a Go playing AI artificial intelligence model that beat some of the world's best Go players. So Go is this like super complex board game. And at first, all the Go players, all the top board players, Go players in the world were shocked or horrified. Does this mean they no longer can play Go? But what happened is that they started studying the way that the AI played Go and realized that the AI models have totally different strategies for winning. And so this game, where the winning strategies had not changed for maybe 50 to 100 years, suddenly has seen in the last 2-3 years a huge explosion in creativity and dynamism as humans saw that the AI could win using these totally new techniques and said, hey, I can incorporate that into my gameplay. And now people play Go in a different style.
Yeah, I think that's great. I honestly haven't really thought about it in that way, perceiving that usually the usual perception is that data is going to evolve, data is going to be elevated, but then we kind of have to look at it at the different side of the coin where, hey, it's going to, support the evolution of humans as well. It's going to support or elevate us and in being better in what we do. What do you see for the future in developing Southeast Asia with data, especially since your hands are right into, you're working right here in the region?
I really love this region. I think that we have a lot going for us, and we also have a lot of challenges. Especially coordination. So I think that number one, I do see as more Southeast Asian tech companies get funded, get big, maybe exit, we're going to have a bigger pool of experienced talent to draw from to lead data initiatives of all kinds. I'm also hoping to see more coordination with people building machine learning models, because one of the biggest components of machine learning models is data, training data. ML models don't operate out of nowhere. It actually takes a lot of time and energy to build a training corpus. And the training corpus is really key to whether or not the AI model learns something well or not. It's not like software where you define all the rules and it just happens. It's more like you have the model, an empty brain, and you need to fill that empty brain with high quality information and curated data. I think that particularly when I'm working with government, right, in the development sector, every country has its own data set on wealth, poverty, climate-related data sets, but these are all scattered. And if we can combine our data sets together and have shared and open standards for developing data tools and machine learning models, I think that's better for everyone. My team is working together with the UNICEF Innovation Fund to build we're calling it AI4D, the AI for Development Research Bank, to collect and openly share these data sources, these pipelines for processing data, open source machine learning models for doing wealth estimations and air quality estimations. And we hope that people will use it as will kind of share that mentality of open source and use it for their own research, for their own purposes, and contribute back to it so that we all really think about growing together.
Oh my gosh, I'm sending you another applause through my brains. I can't believe it. We're coming at the end of our interview. This is just not enough time, Stephanie. I think we're going to have to get another episode with you because you know why, as you said, just like data is changing, you're going to be changing. You're going to be doing a lot, especially since you're in Bangkok. We want to talk to you further. But before we end, we want to lighten things up with some rapid fire questions. Just chill, right? Don't judge us, okay? We're trying to be a little bit lighter.
I think fun is a key part of a good life.
We have 10 questions, okay? Just answer as much as you want. Okay. Rice or noodles?
Oh, rice.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Flip-flops or shoes?
Flip-flops.
Cat or dog?
Oh, This is hard. Both.
Okay. Mountain or sea?
Beach.
Yeah, Marvel or DC?
Oh, Marvel's done a better job. Sorry, DC.
Oh, tea or coffee?
Coffee. I can't live without my cappuccino.
A book or a podcast?
Ooh, I'm on a podcast. I feel like there's a right answer here.
I maybe need to get rid of this one. This is being biased.
Sorry, sadly, I'm going to have to say book for reading.
Okay, we don't judge. Go ahead. Netflix or Disney Plus?
I feel like Netflix has more stuff.
Okay. We'll see in 2023 how it goes. iOS or Android?
Oh, this is maybe controversial, but every time I get a new phone, I switch between iOS and Android, which is kind of annoying, but it helps me see like what's happening on the other side of the fence.
Oh my goodness, why are you so perfect? And then last one, sweet or sour?
Sweet. Desserts are life.
Oh, thank you so much for being so sweet with us here on our podcast, Stephanie C. Thank you so much for giving us, your time, because I know that you're busy and everything, but we're so happy that we've had this time to talk and see how things have developed with data, how organizations are using them, and also how you are working with NGOs and also, within our ecosystem. Thank you for coming back home.
For inviting me to the podcast. This has been really fun. And to anybody listening, I'm always super happy to talk to people trying to build like the data ecosystem in our region. So just like drop me an email anytime.
Yeah, or if you can't contact her, contact us at Techsauce.
Yes.
We'll connect you to Stephanie C, the founder of Thinking Machines. And of course, I promise we'll find some time to talk again, Stephanie. Thank you so much. Kapun ka.
Kapun ka.
Techsauce, sparking innovative thoughts.